Dr. Samson will be joining us shortly so that we can take a review on Naira performance on this show today. So let's have him. Okay, Doctor is here. So let's have Doctor. A very good day to have you, Doctor.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Hello, Dr. Samson.
I can hear you. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, very well. I can hear you, sir. Very good to have you on the show. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so let's get the ball rolling. First, Naira has been adjudged to have performed, in a way that many see it as a mixed feeling. But economists like you, what do you say of Naira performance in the last 2 months?
I didn't hear the last part. In last 2 years or 2 months?
No, 2 months.
2 months. All right. Thank you. The Naira has not done badly. It has largely appreciated in value, and Nigerians like their Naira strong, so that will be good news to them. And if you look at the difference between the official market and then the unofficial is negligible. So there is no so much room for arbitrage. And when Naira is appreciating in value too, it means people are able to import more easily than before. So particularly for necessities. You don't import whatever you wish to import, but there are things that are necessary for you to import. Raw materials for some industry and necessities for consumers. So the Naira has not done badly, is improving, and I think people are bullish about it. That is even going to get better in the coming months before the end of the year. So I think it's largely good news. But of course, it's not yet Uhuru. We're talking about 1,460. So that's very high relative to what we had, let's say, 2 years ago, which is the number we have now is more than 3 times what we had some 2 years ago. So it's not yet Uhuru, but we're hopeful that things will get better.
Exactly. But before I take you on the numbers, let's quickly take a look at the policy of the government. You could recall that from early 2000 till now, we have had different exchange rate policy. We have had the fixed rate policy. We have had the pegging rate policy. We also have the market determinant policy. But all of a sudden, President Bola Ahmed came up with a floating rate policy. What do you make of all this policy, particularly with the floating rate policy of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu?
All right, let me be very clear about something. I know that the central bank governor has been saying it again and again. There is a willing buyer, willing seller market. And officially, we say the Naira has been floated. But it's not fully floated, and it's not pegged either. It's what we call managed float or dirty float, because the central bank intervenes from time to time in the market. It's not just leaving the market to its devices. And I think that's the normal thing, particularly for a majority of economies that look similar to Nigerians, right? We are not there yet to say that we can allow the Naira to freely float. That would be causing trouble. And I think it has largely been effective because the Naira has been stable for months now. It has largely been stable, and in some instances, even appreciating. So I think the central bank is not doing badly when it comes to managing of the Naira and the foreign exchange market.
Interesting. But let me also quickly take you another very dissect issue on this exchange rate aspect. For instance, there are some people who believe that the volatility of the exchange rate is an opportunity in a disguise, particularly for trade and the rest of them. But what do you make of the volatility of exchange rate for a developing or emerging economic like ours?
Well, those people that are taking have a point. When your Naira, when your currency is devalued or it depreciates, it it confers some advantages. There is this particular instance between the United States and China, for example, because China is the largest exporter in the world. The expectation is that the yuan or the renminbi, the Chinese currency, should appreciate in value. But China is not allowing that to happen. And I remember Donald Trump saying he will label China a currency manipulator. So it confers some advantages if your currency is depreciating, or it has depreciated, or is devalued. It makes your export quite cheap. So it enables you to export some more. However, for the case of Nigeria, we hardly have much to export. Outside crude oil and gas and maybe cocoa to some extent, we hardly have much to export. So if we look at food, we're struggling to feed ourselves. So it's the last thing that I want to export. And I will not even advise Nigeria to export food when we are food insecure. So for crude oil and gas, and we have seen, apart from the increase in production, this government has done well to increase production, to improve security in the oil producing areas. Because of that, now we're able to export more and we're able to generate money. And we have seen foreign exchange reserves accretion, and we have seen appreciation of the Naira. So we are not doing badly when it comes to export. And even if you look at our balance of payment, it's positive. It's in the surplus region. So we're not doing badly. But of course, Nigerians, like I said, like their Naira strong. And the Naira might be improving, might be appreciating. It might just be by an inch, but at least we are making progress, is appreciating in value. So that will also help us to import machinery and some of the inputs that we need for industry and some of the necessities that Nigerians need to make use of it domestically.
Exactly, interesting. But for many viewers now, they'll be wondering, even with this appreciation of the naira, the impact on the general economy well-being is still very, very little to the expectation that most of them are looking at for. But for you, how do you see this appreciation value and its impact on the economy generally?
Well, this has been a problem because people feel like the numbers are leaking up, the macroeconomic numbers are leaking up, but the better economy is not really translating. If you look at the kitchen table economics, if you look at personal finance of people, are people better off because the foreign exchange reserves have reached levels they have not seen in recent times? Are people better off because there is disinflation? Are people better off because we have a balance of payment surplus? So all this is about the translation. But I think we should be glad that at least the numbers are looking up, things are looking up, the numbers are improving. That's one thing. So the next thing is how to translate that to economic welfare for an average Nigerian. And I think, I believe that efforts are being made to see that translation. And we have to bear in mind that some of these economic variables improving, their impact on the lives or welfare of Nigerians might not be instantaneous. There's always a lag. So it's going to take a while, maybe a year or so, for us, if we sustain this improvement, for us to see real impact. So we have to exercise patience. I know some people say a hungry man doesn't have any time to be patient because if he waits to be patient, he might be gone. So I understand that part. But even for food prices, we have seen improvement for some items, rice, which is one example. The prices are not as high as they used to be. So even for food items, I think things are looking up. If you look at the last inflation data that came out, food inflation is the lowest when you compare it with core inflation and headline inflation. So we're actually, things are relatively getting better. And it's not going to be overnight that people will just enjoy the benefit, right? It's going to take a while. And we have to exercise patience maybe for a year. If this particular trajectory is maintained, then we are going to see more impact.
Interesting. At the just concluded World Bank IMF Good Meeting in Washington, D.C. last week, the CBN governor, Dr. Yemi Cardoso, said something that attracted a lot of media attention. And what did he say? He said, the Naira that we have now is now globally competitive. It wasn't like what we have before that was just here and there. But for what it is today, it is a currency that is globally competitive. What do you make of that statement?
On the central bank governor, Olayemi Cardoso, has a point because in the past, we were just artificially maintaining the value of the Naira. So, and that was a distortion of the market, and that was a problem for investors and for the Nigerian economy. But now that the Naira is largely floated, we have a largely flexible exchange rate that has made the Naira to be competitive, and that has encouraged investors. Some people will say, all right, apart from portfolio investment, we are hardly attracting foreign direct investment. Foreign direct investment will eventually come. Mind you, investment is a coward, is afraid of risks. So eventually these investments will come if this trajectory is maintained. But one thing for sure is that this distortion has largely been removed. And if you look at the premium between the parallel market and the official exchange, it's almost completely gone. So there's no room for corruption and arbitrage. And even for the foreign exchange reforms that the central bank has embarked upon, we have seen more transparency in the foreign exchange market. All these things have made the Naira to be competitive, has built the credibility of the central bank. And mind you, they were able to also clear the backlog of foreign exchange that the previous authorities could not clear. So all these things have contributed to making the Naira to be competitive and by extension, the Nigerian economy. Of course, we will not expect results in all facets immediately, better improved numbers, but eventually, if this is maintained, we expect to even see foreign direct investment coming in. We have pledges, by the way, and we are hopeful that these pledges will eventually trickle in and the Nigerian people will benefit from it.
Exactly. But you said something about corruption earlier in your submission, and I could recall that one of the things that Dr. Yemi Cardoso was so adamant in ensuring that Naira, when Naira was floated under this regime, was that speculators, because when you challenge Dr. Yemi Cardoso that even though you have done this, you have done that for the Naira, he will quickly point out that the gaps between the black market and the official market has been reduced. And for him, he has successfully block, limit, or eliminate completely speculators around foreign currency in Nigeria. What do you make of that action of the CBN governor?
I think it's very commendable of Olayemi Cardoso that he has done that. It's not really easy for you to remove that premium that really encourages corruption, that encourages speculation, and creates problems and distortions for the Nigerian economy. For the fact that they have done that, I know we have paid the price because we have to make the official exchange rate to be as close or almost the same with the parallel market. And by that, it means importation would be difficult for an average Nigerian. But we should look at it on the bright side. People cannot be indulging in speculation and ultimately harming the entire economy and by extension, everybody within that particular economy. And for the fact that this is done, there is next to nothing in terms of difference between the official and the parallel market, right? That will stop that corruption of people taking advantage of knowing maybe the CPN governor or somebody in the central bank or somebody powerful to collect money or using the official exchange rate to get hard currency and then go to the black market and sell without being productive, right? So all these things have largely been eliminated. And I think kudos to the central bank under the leadership of Olayemi Cardoso. So that's really something good that they have done. But it's not yet the hoodoo, like we say. It's not yet time for them to rest on their oars. It's still work in progress. They have to maintain this and possibly improve on it so that all Nigerians can benefit from it eventually.
Exactly. Interesting. And still staying on Dr. Yemi Cardoso, some of the things that he said when he came up or being appointed as the CBN governor, he also said something very, very interesting that we need to quickly interrogate. He said that even though the Naira has been floated, that the biggest challenge that they may be having is local production as against high importation demand of Nigeria. What do you make of that statement, and how do you think we can really match up our local production of some goods so that importation can be reduced? Because that's the message he's preaching.
Well, we have serious issues around production. Maybe the problem is the incentives for production are not good enough, and that's why we tend to consume more than we produce. We tend to import until now more than we were exporting. So I think there is a need to incentivize production and exportation. For production, the enabling environment needs to be created. We need to make our country the easiest place to do business. If it's very easy to do business in Nigeria, Nigerians will always do business here, and foreigners also come in to do business in Nigeria. But if the business environment is difficult to navigate, when we have power issues, we have problem with enforcement of contracts and so on. The metrics are there from the World Bank on what it takes for ease of doing business. And the Nigerian government has domesticated some of this by having PEC, right? The Presidential Enabling Business Environment Initiative. So we need to really go beyond doing things on paper and the optics to actually getting results in terms of ease of doing business in all facets of our livelihoods. And then for our ability to export, if you look at it, some of us have undergone research to find out what is actually happening. Why are we having difficulty in export? Even for the positive balance of payment, surplus balance of payment, is largely because we have reduced importation, not because export per se. Export has increased, but the imports have largely reduced because of our exchange rate. So we need to support export, and the export where we're having challenge is basically from MSMEs. Those MSMEs are hardly exporting. So there's a need to boost the business environment so that these MSMEs can export. If you juxtapose the case of Nigeria with China, the MSMEs in China are prorated. Their capacity, their contribution to the economy is around 75% of GDP. But their contribution to export is even higher than their contribution to the economy. In the case of Nigeria, MSMEs are around half of our GDP. But in terms of contribution to export, it's quite negligible. It's in single digit. So that's a major problem. So we need to encourage our MSMEs to export. If they are not exporting, the Dangotes and the other powerful companies will not really take up the slack. So we need to encourage our MSMEs to export by enabling them, by creating that environment for them to export. That way we can boost export, and then the Naira can be stronger, and Nigerians will be happy with their currency.
Exactly, interesting. Before I let you go, Dr. Samson, a projection has been made by the president of the BUA Group, talking about Alhaji Rabiu. He said that Naira to dollar will be 1,400 Naira by December. December is just a month away. Once we cross into November, we hit December. But what do you make of this projection by Alhaji Rabiu that Naira will be exchanged to dollar will be 1,400 Naira?
I believe we are going. I think the BUA Group chief executive has a point. If we maintain this trajectory, mind you, the Naira has been stable, and it has not only been stable, it's appreciating in value. So that is to tell you that if we maintain it, we will eventually reach 1,400 to the dollar or even less. Particularly if you look at our ability to reduce the importation of refined crude, refined oil that the Dangote refinery has helped with, and also BUA refinery is coming on stream very soon, and other refineries too. If we do it that way and we continue to increase our ability to export crude oil, our ability to export other items, and then it will diminish the imports that we do, the pressure on the Naira will go down, and then the Naira will slightly going to appreciate in value. And that target that Abdul Samad mentioned will be achieved in the next 1 month or so. It's doable. It's within reach. But we need to maintain the progress that we're making now, and possibly even improve on that for us to see the desired results at the end of the day.
Exactly. Interesting. I really want to appreciate you for coming on the show. You know, the next MPC meeting is very close by. Hopefully, you have time to come on the show so that we can extray what the CBN MPC committee will be talking for the fourth quarter. But for today, I appreciate you for coming on the show, and your submission are quite laudable for us on the market report, sir. All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Samson.